Gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She comes with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Ladies and gentlemen, how you guys doing? Welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. Thank you guys for being here with us. I'm not here alone. That's something I haven't said for a long time. I haven't been able to say it for a long time because I have been here alone for a long time. And however, tonight that changed. Because sitting next to me here in the studio is none other than our very own Mr. Don Longbeard. Welcome.
How do I do this again?
I don't know. I've kind of forgotten.
I don't
I
know.
had to look for the button to push to get you on screen.
Couldn't remember
which one
button
is
to
it?
push.
Which one is it? Yeah, it's like, God, I'm so out of practice, but it's good to see you, brother. It's good to have you.
It's,
Good to have you home.
it's nice to be home, yeah, and my seat's nice and warm again. And
It is. I would go warm it up occasionally,
no,
just so.
that explains why I had to bring the Lysol in.
Yeah, well, you know, I didn't say I was good about it. No, we're back, ladies and gentlemen, back in the studio, and we are live and underway here. And we hope you're going to enjoy the show. That's always the objective, anyway. So if you don't, maybe there's something wrong with you. No,
Oh goodness.
no, I'm just saying we're going to do a show about, of course, a lot of things, but one of the things we want to focus on tonight is the doppelganger phenomena because, it's an interesting thing. We haven't talked about it for a very, very long time. I think we've only done one other show on this in the history of the Paranormal Portal, but it's a weird phenomena. It's a very strange one, and it can be several things. Like there's the doppelgangers where, people just running around wherever they are and bump into somebody that looks almost exactly like them. And it's creepy. It's weird. Then there's the other kind where there's a doppelganger in history, which, that's almost like there's faces that get recycled, and that's something I'll touch on in a little bit, but I find that very interesting. But the other kind, of course, is the spirits that can look like the living, and that's the paranormal aspect for sure. But we're going to go through, all different types, and I don't know, maybe some of you out there have met your own doppelgangers or seen your own doppelgangers, and you'd want to help us with some of your own experiences, Brandon. Brandon.
That was subtle.
Sorry, Brandon. No, I'm just kidding. But no, if you have a story of your own, of course, you're welcome to share it. The phone lines are always open here on the show. The number to call in is 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. So if you do have something you want to share, we'd love to hear from you, though. But doppelgangers I find very interesting. So I hope you all are ready because we're going in. Boom. Oh, thank you, Lewis. Lewis says, great open mic today. Well, I didn't really do much on it, actually. I was kind of just there. But thank you. I know Don was a big part of that today, and so was Paisley, as was Lucky, of course. We did, if you don't know what we're talking about, we did an open mic on TFR Live today on the network from, 11 Pacific to 1, right?
Right, yeah.
and it's a good time. It's kind of nice because, it's nice to sometimes talk about other things too. You
Right.
know, like I'm not just a one trick pony. It's like I know about ghosts and that's it. I find a lot of things really interesting, and of course I'm just as concerned as many people about the state of things nowadays. So I like those forums for that, and I like hearing what other people think. Excuse me. And so I have a lot of fun on those when I'm able to do them. I know you've been on several of them, right, Don?
Yeah, I've been on quite a few of them, and I don't know if people like me too much.
Why? Oh, you did good.
I'm very opinionated about that kind of thing sometimes.
Well, that's what it's for, though, right? I mean, it's an
Well, true
opinion
enough.
show. It's
True enough.
sharing your feelings and thoughts. And I thought your participation was fantastic. You did a great job. So
Oh, well, thank you.
yeah,
Yeah, it's actually something I enjoy doing. I mean, I enjoy. Well, let's face it, I'm kind of on like 2.5 shows now. Like it's kind of crazy. But
spreading you around like butter, Don.
more like hopefully more like seeds of wisdom.
There you go. That's where it's at. Well, they need fertilizer too.
Oh yeah,
Ooh.
and that's where all my
Thank you.
BS comes in.
No, it was a good time, but I'm glad to those of you that did check it out with us. Thank you for doing that. Great to see you guys, though. I say Ruger Ridge. That's a familiar name, right?
Yeah, Ruger's been here a bunch of times.
I'm sorry. I sometimes don't get to see the chat at all.
It's true.
And I just see little glimpses here and there. So sometimes I see new names. Hey, there's Jake's here.
Yeah, Jake's here.
Got a bunch of people here, Don. Why don't you tell us who's here?
Well, let's find out. So let's go to the participants.
Shout
list.
out time here on the portal.
Shout out. If you're not present, don't hold your hand up. Aussie Tiger's here. Big Rob. Brandon's here. Chris Jarvis, how you doing? Kathy Spencer. Lindsay Bay. Lewis is here. Mog's here. Mr. Paranormal Portal himself, that guy over there. Regula's here. Ruger Ridge. And so much Jake from the BLB Boys. Carlton from the Pharmacy Seeds Network. Tighten Up. And Mr. Duke from World Bigfoot Radio. Art is Life is also here. And Paisley was here shortly too. And then
ditched
Ken just
already.
popped in. So there you go.
Good day, Ken.
Good day. Good day,
And,
Aussie.
Yeah, and Aussie's here too.
Oh, I miss Blue Sharpie.
Blue
Sharpie's
Sharpie.
here too, yeah.
Very good, very good. If you didn't get a shout out, give Don a yell in the chat and he'll
And Gemini.
shout out.
Hi, Gemini.
Hi, Gemini.
Contraband popped in. I can go on all day.
I heard that today.
Wow.
I'm just teasing. No, you did good. So I was going to say something, and now, I just want to say, remember Saturday night, we're going to have Dean Harrison, Yowie researcher from Australia, on for his second visit. This first visit was phenomenal. The guy is just a fantastic storyteller, so incredibly passionate about the subject and knowledgeable, and it's a lot of fun to talk to him. So his second visit to the portal will be on Saturday night, and if you missed part one,
Saturday.
you can check it in the archives here on YouTube. It's in there in the Bigfoot playlist, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever, Dogman, cryptids. There's a playlist of all that stuff that we've covered, and that show is certainly in there. So check it out. And his second visit will be Saturday, which is good because the first time he was on, there was just 2 hours was just such a hiccup in time. There was so much that he could have shared and even alluded to some things. Well, I'd tell you this, but we don't have enough time. I was like, oh, God. So I'm really excited that he's coming back and we'll have another opportunity to hear more of what he's got to share because, yeah, the stories are phenomenal. The thylacine one still just cooks my bacon. It's just such an incredible story. But anyway, so tonight is about doppelgangers. And Don, you ever seen your doppelganger?
There was a time back in Seattle when, I was much younger and much more handsome and a little more strange, if that could be possible.
It could.
Some people mistook me for, and I'm not trying to be, self congratulating, whatever.
Aggrandizing?
Aggrandizing, yes. But people told me I looked like Kurt Cobain.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we just happened to come from, cities that were like, separated by a road, too.
Right.
We grew up less than 10 miles from each other.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. So you were in that neighborhood anyway.
Yeah, and
Maybe it's something in the Seattle air and the water.
well, it was on the peninsula actually. We were both born on the peninsula. Just we were probably born in the same hospital actually.
Uh-huh.
But and then ending up in Seattle was just kind of, that's what happens when you live on the peninsula. You go to Seattle and Everett and hang out there. So that's what we did apparently.
Wow.
We did cross paths, but somebody, some people have said that, and it's like, well, I don't know if that's good or bad. I'm not quite sure.
No, he's a good-looking guy. Kurt Cobain was a really good-looking guy, and a hell of a talent. That was a sad day when that ended.
Yep.
But no, I've never met my own, but I have. I got to tell you, I have gone to other towns, and people act like they know me. And that's really weird. It's like they'll come up, oh, hey, how you doing? I haven't seen you for a while. It's like, I'm pretty sure you've never seen me. And I don't know if I have one of those faces that kind of just, I don't know, slides a bunch of different ways as far as familiarity goes. But yeah, I've been told that many, many times in many different locations. And I find that really peculiar. And people going, I think I've met you. I know you. I've met you. I've seen you. And I'm good with faces. Like I remember when I've met people. I don't remember names to save my life, but I remember faces. And it's like, I know I've not met you before, and so that happens quite a bit. But apparently I've got a doppelganger or two out there. Now there was a when I was a bit younger and less portly. There was a show on TV called Touched by an Angel. Mm-hmm. And there's an actor on there who has since passed. He died very young for some reason. But his name was John Dye, and he played Andrew, the Angel of Death. And my grandmother used to say that she was going home to watch me on TV. And I was like, what does that even mean? Because I wasn't familiar with the show. So I went and checked it out. And it was one of those weird things where you turn on the TV, and at that time, we really did look almost identical. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But yeah. I mean, it was just one of those weird things. So I guess I kind of have seen my doppelganger, but never met him. But yeah, so anyway, apparently there's one out there for everybody, is the saying, ladies and gentlemen. So if you've met your doppelganger or not, you'll have to let us know, or let us know in chat or something. But I think that here's the thing, though. You're an old soul, Brent. Oh, thank you. Sometimes I'm really an immature soul, though, too. So, like, I have both facets of myself. Like, sometimes I'm incredibly childish, and then other times I can be, a little more wise, I guess, or whatever term you want to use.
Weisenheimer.
Yeah. But here's the thing, is that when you think about it, there are only so many physical variations we can have. And so I think that... But the funny thing is that I swear, so I grew up in Minnesota, Don, right?
Right.
You know that. And I moved out here. And once I moved out here, this is really the only place that, other than a time in Michigan when I lived there for a bit. But I moved out here, and it was funny because I was in the grocery store, and I would see people that were so familiar to me back home in my hometown. And they had the same body types, the same face, the same way that they walked and stuff. And it was like, wow, that's weird. And the thought occurred to me, are like people recycled? And I don't mean recycled like, you trade one in and you get another one back. But I mean like, it's like there seems to be a personality type that goes with a body type. Like, I don't know for sure how to explain it, but it's very strange that there's those real quirky analytical people have a certain build, and then there's the happy people that have, the jolly happy people that have, of course, the stereotypical bigger bearded build. And that's not making any reference to you in that. But I mean, there's just these body types that seem to correlate with personality types. And I found that the people seem to be copied. Now, what I thought was interesting in that was that, does that reinforce the whole NPC thing? And that's what really kind of cooked my bacon a bit. Is like, are these NPC type people? And if you're not familiar with that term, essentially there's people that believe that this is all a simulation. And in this simulation, there are organic souls, and there are these other people that are here that are not organic souls or consciousness. They are what's called NPC, non-player characters. It's a term that comes from video game where there's computerized characters that walk around and do stuff.
Like John Leguizamo and Gamer.
Yeah, exactly. So it was just kind of curious when I would see these people repeated from familiar people I knew back home when I moved out here, and I thought that was really bizarre. Yeah, ciphers. Duke says ciphers. I'm not sure what that means, but very strange. A stupider version of your doppelganger.
That's like what movie was that? Idiocy or Multiplicity? Multiplicity.
Uh-huh.
Was that the one where he cloned himself and then the clones cloned the clones? and the more times the clones got cloned, the stupider they got.
Oh, jeez. Oh, that's hilarious. I never saw that. I never did, but it's very well. It's probably from D&D. You're right, Duke, because that's probably the earliest version of a non-player character. But it's from the MMORPG world, which D&D is the oldest one. Yep, you guys are right. So, are there these non-player characters? Are there these people walking around that are basically a part of the environment? They seem to have lives. They seem to have thoughts. They seem to have, I don't know, an existence, a valid existence, but they seem more one-dimensional. They don't seem to have the depth.
Their personality depth, yeah. They
Right.
don't have much personality. They're just kind of plastic.
Right. So I find that very interesting, and I don't know what you guys think about stuff like that, but I think it's an interesting theory, and maybe there's something to it, because it really was bizarre for me to move out here and see the same people repeated, slight variations, but I could almost look when I was going through the stores or in public and see people and know exactly what that person was like. And, I didn't ever spend enough time with them to know if that was true, but they seemed to have the same way they walked, the same way that they talked when they interacted with people. And there was just that repetition. And so, I guess if you think about it, I mean, how much depth do these environmental characters really need?
Right.
Well, none. Maybe maybe they just go home and they're just kind of I don't
They just
know.
shut down for the night.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like
So I think it's like the Matrix. Exactly, Rob. That's exactly right. But I find that concept interesting. So I think that can be a reason for some doppelgangers. But I don't know. We're going to get into this and see what you guys think about the whole doppelganger theory. It kind of all started today when I posted an article from a friend of ours, Paranormal Science Lab, which is Lisa Martin. Yes, thank you. And she posted something that I shared on our Facebook page, the Paranormal Portal Facebook page. So let me get that article up.
Yes,
I
please.
forgot to open that one. And we'll start there because somebody said, hey, this would be a great show idea. And it was earlier today. And Don and I were like, yeah, it would be.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that.
So it kind of gave us an angle for the night. But let me open this up and we'll read what's...
Yes.
So this is coming from mysteriousuniverse.org. And it's a great site if you haven't visited there or checked it out. I mean, I think everybody knows Mysterious Universe.
Yeah, and it's written by that guy that we...
Oh, Brent
Yeah,
Swanser. Brent
yeah.
Swanser. Yeah, with the name Brent, he's going to be solid.
Oh, God.
He's going to be solid, Don.
He's got good info.
That guy represent.
Brent.
Says one trope that pervades fiction and movies is that of the evil twin or doppelganger. Someone who looks exactly like us yet has a darker agenda. Ooh, there you go. The idea that there is someone out there that looks just like us and could be up to no good is an unsettling thought, but at least we wouldn't be wrongly arrested and charged for what our doppelganger does, right?
Oh.
Well, apparently this was not always so clear cut. If you are thankful for the ability to tell from your from your fingerprints that you didn't do it, well, you can thank two doppelgangers who turned up at a prison to challenge the very way we process and record criminals. So the bizarre story starts in 1903 when a man by the name of Will West was brought to the Leavenworth Penitentiary in northeast Kansas in the United States on the charges of a relatively minor crime. However, the clerk in charge of processing the incoming prisoners was immediately on alert when he saw West come through those doors. The startled clerk asked Will something along the lines of, "What have you done now?" To which the puzzled prisoner said he'd never been to Leavenworth before and had no idea what he was talking about. The clerk was sure that he had seen him before, though, and he went to go retrieve some older files from the prison records. And when he came back, he showed Will a series of mugshots from 1901, which showed a man that looked identical to him in every way.
Wow.
And his name was even William West. Whoa, that is creepy. I hadn't read this before when I posted it. Who had been incarcerated on charges of first-degree murder.
Ooh.
The prisoner who had just come in adamantly denied this. Indeed, he insisted that he had never been arrested before and demanded to know where they had gotten his picture from. Considering the time period and the fact that he was African American, Will was certain that they were in the process of trying to set him up for a crime that he didn't commit. But the pictures didn't seem to lie, and they looked identical right down to their measurements and name. And at the time, the main way used for identifying and documenting criminals, what is called Bertillon, Bertillon, Bertillon measurements, or Bertillon, I don't know. In this system, which he had originally been designed by a French criminologist and biometrics researcher named Alphonse Bertillon in 1897, criminals were identified solely on their mugshots, a description of the face, full names, and physical measurements. According to this system, Will and William West were the same people. Well, what's going on here? And there's actually pictures. I'm going to put this up.
Wow, yeah.
That is like identical. Good grief. So I'm going to put this on the screen, ladies and gentlemen, for your viewing pleasure. And there's the two men, and that is striking. The number two has a longer face, though.
Right. Longer, and the eyebrow ridge is different.
A little bit, yeah.
Different, and one has a little bit of shorter nose, I'd say.
Yeah.
But, I mean, at first blush, you look at it and you go, oh, yeah, that's
and the
you.
same name.
Yeah.
I mean, geez.
It's got to be you.
Yep. So it says, after doing a double check of the system, it was oddly found that the murderer, William West, was still incarcerated there, even as Will West stood before the startled clerk, looking just like him. In fact, it would turn out that the two Wests were completely unconnected, unrelated individuals who just happened to look uncannily like each other and have the same names, to a degree that the old Bertillon way of looking at things was exposed as being wholly inadequate.
Yeah.
Even when stood next to each other, there was virtually no way to tell the two Wests apart, with the same height, same weight, everything except for a very slight 7-millimeter difference in the foot length. Historian and ex-guard at Leavenworth Prison, Kenneth Lemaster, has said of the unusual case, it was a pretty reliable system, but there were people who had very similar Bertillon measurements then, and all of a sudden, you get these two guys that look pretty darn close to each other, and it starts clicking that maybe there's a better system we can evolve into, or a better way to identify these guys. In order to better be able to differentiate the two and others like them, authorities were forced to change the ways and go back to a more ancient way of identifying people, namely fingerprints. The use of people's fingerprints to identify them has been around for thousands of years, since at least the ancient Egyptians. And it had been known for a long time that different people had different unique fingerprints, but it had never been considered as a way to identify criminals until 1891, when Argentine police officer Juan, that name, began using it as a means of categorizing or cataloging perpetrators of crimes. In 1901, the method had been refined and caught on in England as well, but in the United States, it had still been all about the Bertillon method, which was obviously obsolete.
The Bertillon method. Sorry, couldn't help that one.
Tweak. All right, so with the West case, it was clear that the system was flawed, and so criminal processing and identification procedures in the United States were completely overhauled to change the way to the fingerprinting system in light of this. From 1903 onward, criminals were processed and recorded based mostly on their fingerprints, and from there the practice caught on worldwide as a primary means of reliable identification, rather. In 1905, the military was using it, and by 1911, the technology had come along enough that fingerprints became admissible as evidence in court cases, with the first conviction of this evidence being the murderer Thomas Jennings, who was then executed in 1912 despite his appeals against this new system. And the rest is history. It was considered a truly objective, infallible way. By 1980, the first fully functional computer database of fingerprints was developed called Automated Fingerprint Identification System, or AFIS, was brought online, and at present there are over 700 million individual fingerprints entered into the system. Although DNA and other biometric systems such as retina scans have come into popularity in recent years, at present the fingerprint system is by far the most pervasive, used by every law enforcement agency the world over. It's amazing way to think that our whole way of collecting evidence and recording criminals was all due to two unrelated men who just happened to be bona fide doppelgangers of each other. The story has gone on to become almost legendary and has attracted its fair share of unverified versions, such as that of the man Will charged with a minor crime was actually the real murderer, or that they were, in fact, identical twins separated at birth. But none of this has ever been proven. In the end, it is bizarre little historical oddity that has managed to entirely change the way we do things. And if your evil twin is ever arrested, you have the Wests to thank for making sure you don't take the fall.
It wasn't me. It was my doppelganger. I can see that standing up in court.
But could you imagine if they didn't have fingerprints, though? I mean, you'd still... And if you circumstantially were in the same area just by chance, you could still be screwed, you know?
Yeah, no doubt.
Ah, that's horrible. That would be horrible. That's the one thing that I think is just frightening is to be sitting in a prison for something you didn't do,
Right.
and unable to prove your innocence.
Right.
You know, it's like, God, that's tough. That's a tough deal for sure. So thank you. This is actually Brendan that asked us to do this show on doppelgangers based on that article. So here we are doing it. What do you think of that story, Don?
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's funny how it just happened, to be in the same place as the other person. Usually there are towns or states in between, or even in some cases. Oh, and thank you, Blue Sharpie. We appreciate the donation. And Blue Sharpie said that their doppelganger left
Kunsan, South Korea?
South Korea. Oh. And because that person apparently got kicked out of a lot of bars, Blue Sharpie couldn't go to bars and stay in.
No.
So a weird coincidence there. But that's like a world apart, and it's a little different when your doppelganger can walk in a door that you were hauled in, a couple months before for being stupid. And so, it's crazy.
That would suck to go in someplace. Oh, you're back again. Get the hell out.
I'm like, who the hell are you?
I just got here.
Where did this come from?
Boy, their customer service over here sucks.
Wow. It's very viable. It makes you wonder how many genes are really in the gene pool,
Yeah,
but
wow.
But the scope of the idea, it's a large thing to swallow.
It would be. It's just terrible. Wow.
I missed my jug.
You what?
I've missed my jug.
Well,
It's been over here in the studio for 2 months.
I know it's
languishing.
It's been fermenting while you've been gone.
That it has.
Hello, Isaac. Good to see you. Hello. Good to see everybody. Everybody that's here. Thank you guys for being here with us. We're going to move on to a story from Listverse. And this is an article called 10 Disturbing Tales.
Oh, now I get to close that tab.
Oh, did you have that one open?
I did.
Of doppelgangers. Well, let me just get into this. So 10 Disturbing Tales of Doppelgangers. This is coming from Listverse again, listverse.com. And it says, according to legend, doppelgangers, German for double walker. I did not know that. Did you know that, Don?
I knew it was German. That's all I can admit to.
Sure. Are paranormal duplicates of a real person. Well, not necessarily paranormal, but anyway. They can manifest in a number of ways. You can see them out of the corner of your eye, meet them on a lonely road somewhere, or chillingly see them standing behind you when looking in a mirror. Sometimes a doppelganger can't be seen by the person at all, but instead manifests to other people in a completely different location. It may even cooperate with the person to help them with tasks or act as a surrogate body of sorts. Well, that's a weird statement.
Huh.
I can't wait to get into that, see what that's all about. There are many explanations for the doppelganger phenomena. Mystics throughout the ages have believed they are supernatural creatures, either spiritual copies of the person or downright demonic twins. Meanwhile, scientists say they're just electrical glitches of the brain or mental illnesses such as schizophrenia.
What?
Yeah, I guess so. But only two things are certain about these eerie apparitions. They are often bad news. And a surprising number of significant historical figures have claimed to be haunted by them. Yikes. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. He looks like the Sith Lord, doesn't he?
He does. He looks like Palpatine.
Yeah. A picture of him looks like Sith Lord. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, which from 1749 to 1832, well, he lived a lot of life for that time of year, of the world, nearly 100 years, getting right up there, was a famous German writer, poet, and politician. A celebrated author who played a large part in shaping the field of literature with his words were widely read and respected. A lot of W and R words together. It's like, I turned into like Elmer Fudd. Well, widely read and hunting rabbits.
Hunting rabbits.
One day, a depressed Goethe was riding on a footpath after leaving a girl named Frederica, and suddenly he faced a mysterious person riding towards him. The person, who Goethe said he saw with a mind's eye instead of his actual eyes, was clearly Goethe, Goth, G-O-E-T-H-E. How would you say that, Don? Goethe or Goth? I don't know. Himself.
I would say Goethe.
Goethe?
Goethe.
Okay, Goethe. Goethe himself, although he was wearing different clothes, the figure soon disappeared, and Goethe, who found its appearance strangely soothing, soon forgot all about it. 8 years later, he found himself riding down the same footpath in the opposite direction to see Frederica again, and that's when he realized he was wearing the exact same clothes his doppelganger wore years ago. This was not the only doppelganger Goethe saw. Another time, he saw his friend Frederick walking on the street wearing Goethe's own dressing gown.
Huh.
Puzzled, Goethe went home. I forget what you said. Goethe? Goethe. Goethe went home only to find Frederick there wearing the same gown Goethe had seen on the apparition. His friend had been surprised by the rain and borrowed his gown as his clothes dried.
That would fall into that psychopathy issue. You're talking about schizophrenia or earlier. Is it a mental thing? And
Right.
This might be. It might be a mental thing. He's projecting, or maybe being clairvoyant.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Sure.
He's seeing these things before they happen, because that's exactly what that sounds like. Because he saw his doppelganger coming down the road at him, and then it disappears, and then later he finds himself on the road with those clothes on.
Right.
And then he sees his friend Frederick, wearing his dressing gown out in the rain.
Right.
And then he goes home to find Frederick at his house wearing his clothes. Yeah, that's creepy.
Yeah, that's like, it's a weird precognition for sure. So the next one is actually Catherine the Great. And this is, I think I've heard this one before, but if this is the same story. Catherine the Great, the powerful 18th century empress of Russia, was a powerful and dangerous figure. She was not fazed by small matters such as seeing her own ghostly doppelganger take over her throne. It's said that one night, Catherine was lying in her bed when worried servants told her they'd just seen her enter the throne room. When Catherine set out to investigate, she found her doppelganger sitting calmly on the throne. Catherine immediately ordered her sentries to shoot her ghostly counterpart. The stories don't tell whether the bullet had any effect on the spectral empress. However, Catherine herself died soon after.
Wow. So that's kind of a banshee type story
Well,
right there. You see, but I've heard that before though. If you
Yeah.
see your doppelganger, it could be a harbinger.
That's what
Yeah.
when the last time we did this topic, that's what came up, is that seeing a doppelganger is sometimes a premonition of your own demise. And maybe from, this as a historical precedent. I don't know that it's commonly that, but it's certainly weird. Percy.
That clearly says Percy.
It does. Sorry. I'm just so excited to have you back, Don. I forgot how to talk.
Well, thank you.
Percy Blythe Shelley. Well, just going to go with Percy Shelley.
Percy Shelley, yeah.
Was a brilliant poet in his own right, although he is mainly remembered as the husband of Mary Shelley, the author of Frankenstein. Although one would assume that Mary, the horror writer, would have been the one to see the ghosts and monsters, it was in fact Percy who witnessed doppelgangers. Shortly before Percy drowned in a sailing accident in 1812, he confessed to Mary that he had met his doppelganger many times. These confrontations included one particular haunting experience where he walked onto a terrace only to be greeted by his doppelganger, who asked him, "How long do you mean to be content?" Strangely, Percy's doppelganger, who was also witnessed by her close friend Jane Williams, who saw it passing her window and on a route frequently walked by the real Percy, to a dead end but never returning. The real Percy was nowhere to be found. Here's Sir Frederick Carne-Roche. In 1906, British Parliament member Sir Gilbert Parker was attending a debate when he spotted Sir Frederick Carne-Roche, a fellow Parliament member, sitting nearby. This greatly surprised Sir Gilbert, as Sir Frederick was severely ill, with influenza at the time. Still, he politely greeted Sir Frederick and told him, "I hope you're feeling better." But Carne-Roche didn't react in any way. He just sat there with a stony, grim expression on his face. When Sir Gilbert soon glanced at his friend again, the seat was completely empty. Bewildered, he searched for Carne-Roche in the lobby, only to find that no one had seen him pass by. When he discussed the event with fellow parliamentarians, it turned out others had seen Carne-Roche too. When the real Carne-Roche, who had been sick in bed all along, found out about this incident, he was quite unsurprised. He had really wanted to take part in the debate, so to him it made sense that his spirit had sneaked a peek. His family, however, was terrified and feared a doppelganger was a bad sign. In a small way, they were right. For quite some time, Carne-Roche was annoyed by fellow parliament members who kept poking him with their fingers to make sure he was flesh and blood. In the end, he had to write a massively sarcastic letter to a local newspaper, apologizing that he didn't have the good sense to die at the time of the doppelganger sighting and promised to behave better next time.
Oh, my. Crazy.
So these are some pretty profound historical experiences with doppelgangers. These are the more spiritual in nature. But here's one of Queen Elizabeth I of England, who reigned from 1558 to 1603, was the last Tudor to rule the country. Widely recognized as a charismatic, level-headed, and savvy monarch, she was the kind of person one wouldn't expect to dabble with the paranormal, which makes it all the more scary when she claimed she had witnessed her doppelganger. According to the Queen, the spectral Elizabeth was lying motionless on her bed, almost like a corpse, laid out for presentation. The experience was particularly haunting because such appearances are said to be a certain sign of death. Still, it would be easy to put this down as a temporary glitch in the mind of an elderly, stressed-out ruler, if it wasn't for the fact that Elizabeth died soon after seeing her very own doppelganger. Wow. That's I don't know. Maybe they are harbingers of, or portents of death.
Right, yeah.
You know, like maybe it's the soul just letting you know, hey, we're going to be going pretty soon.
Time's short.
Pack your bags.
Got to make it good. Time's short.
Yeah,
You're on the clock.
It's like the what is it, the 2-minute warning in football?
Yeah.
It's like, okay. So Maria de Jesus de Agreda. Although doppelgangers are generally perceived as sinister, it's said that sometimes a person is not only able to control them, but use them as a sort of second body that can bilocate to other places in an instant. In the 17th century, explorers and missionaries to the New World were astonished to find out that many of the tribes in New Mexico were already merrily practicing Catholicism. When questioned, the tribesmen said they had been converted by a mysterious lady in blue who had taught them and even given them a number of crucifixes and other items of worship. With careful detective work, a few priests finally traced the phenomena to Maria de Agreda, a young blue-robed Spanish nun. She claimed to have taught Christianity to the Indians by bilocating across the ocean. Mary had never left her convent and only knew the place she had been as a savage land, but her story was enough to convince the priests. Initially, the Inquisition was extremely suspicious of Maria, but they decided to acquit her of witchcraft charges, possibly because her story was just too good to waste. Her power was declared to be of divine origin, and she became an international celebrity by the leader of her convent and an author of rambling books on how she acquired her powers. However, later in life, she changed her story multiple times. Sometimes she claimed she was pressured to say she could habitually cast her spiritual copy to another continent. Sometimes she said it was true after all. Huh. So was it real or not?
I don't know. That's an odd one.
Well, I mean, it is curious if the story of those first people to come to New Mexico were seeing the natives practicing Catholicism.
Right.
I mean, there's got to be some kind of reason they learned. That's not just something you'd make up. It's a pretty devout system.
But so the 17th century was actually the 1600s, which makes sense because that would be about the time Cortez made it down there, and all those conquistadors. Yeah, that would make sense that it would be.
That's weird, though, right?
Frame, yeah.
That's weird. They were being taught by a bilocated nun. I don't know. That's I guess if you got to have a teacher, that's a pretty good one to have. So the weird thing is how would she communicate with them?
That's a good question. I mean, I guess people can hallucinate anything they want. And that time during New Mexico, they were doing a lot of peyote.
they were spiritually they were being taught while they were jumping on mushrooms and
that's spiritually that's a spiritual event.
It is. I'm not casting aspersions.
Oh, I'm not either,
at that kind of spirituality. I mean, people have had some profound visions by using hallucinogens. There's no question, but yeah, I guess it's possible. So we're going to move on to Honest Abe. Oh. Honest Abe is next, Don. And he'd never lie. Right? I don't know. Abraham Lincoln was known as Honest Abe, and as such was very open about his interest in the paranormal. At least in private discussions, according to the man himself, he also experienced some paranormal activity. On the night of his first election, he took a moment to rest on his couch. One evening, while lying there, he happened to glance into a mirror and saw his own visage, except that he had two faces. A second Lincoln, pale and ghostly, was looking at him from the mirror, right next to his own face. Startled, he rose from the couch, and the doppelganger disappeared. He sat back down, only to see it again.
Wow.
Lincoln was startled, but his wife Mary was downright terrified. She was convinced that the doppelganger was bad news, a certain sign that Lincoln would be reelected on a second term, possibly because 2 Lincolns equals 2 terms, but wouldn't survive it because the second Lincoln looked deathly. That's a pretty good interpretation. Lincoln went on to repeat the couch experiment every once in a while. He did manage to glimpse the doppelganger one more time, but after it stopped appearing, maybe it had delivered its message, as Lincoln indeed didn't make it through his second term. Or, maybe somebody just fixed the mirror.
Oh, man.
I love a little punchy humor in these things. This guy I've never heard of. His name is George Tryon, Tryon. On June 22nd, 1893, was not a good day for Vice Admiral George Tryon. He was commanding 2 columns of ships off the coast of Syria when he gave a command for the columns to turn towards each other. This attempt at a majestic naval drill maneuver turned out to be an amateur mistake, as the first ships promptly rammed into each other, and one of them, the one that Tryon happened to be on, sank like a stone. Tryon died knowing that he had just doomed 357 men to drown. His last words were fittingly and heartbreakingly, "This is entirely my fault." At the exact same time, Tryon's wife was holding a lavish party for their friends in their London home. Suddenly, To the guest's surprise, Tryon appeared at the party. Silently, he walked down a staircase, solemnly proceeded through the drawing room and opened the door as if to leave, before he suddenly disappeared. He was dressed in full uniform, as if commanding a drill. And there are some holes in the story. For instance, some say Lady Tryon was busy with the guests and never saw his doppelganger, while others claim she was one of the onlookers. Still, the tale bears eerie resemblance to old sea tales of a sailor's fetch, another name for a spirit doppelganger,
Right.
alerting his family upon his death.
And that's something too. We've heard many stories of people having loved ones in the hospital or whatnot, and they go out to take a break. They're sitting, they've been spending a lot of time by their side in the hospital, and they go out to get something to eat or to get a shower and change their clothes. And while they're out and about, they see the for lack of better term, spirit of their loved one as they died. Or we've had several stories about, ghostly apparitions coming to visit loved ones, like grandchildren that aren't normally in the hospital during those times, of seeing their loved ones in a spiritual form, or say a doppelganger even, as they died or just after they died, whatnot, and come visiting. So, there is a very spiritual aspect to that idea, I think.
Yeah.
But, my only question is, I've always heard, doppelganger being, the physical manifestation of yourself. But, that's just one idea. So,
Yeah, it's hard to know for sure. These are curious stories, though. Most of these, now that last one seems like it was just he had already died, and if he did appear at all, it was just because his spirit was just doing the that walk home, maybe, or whatever. I don't know,
Right.
like going back to that place that was most familiar and comforting. Is what I took from it. I don't
Right,
know that that's
yeah.
actually a doppelganger.
right.
But interesting nonetheless. It's just an apparition, which turned out to be, a notification of the guy's death, if it indeed happened. But, again, they said that there was holes in the story, that there were different takes. The wife saw it or she didn't saw it.
Right.
And who knows from there how much of the rest of it was embellished. But anyway, here's one about French writer Guy de Maupassant.
Guy.
Guy? Oh, is that how you said that? Guy?
Guy de Maupassant.
Okay. Guy de Maupassant.
Just call him Guy.
French loaf.
The guy.
The gay. Guy. All right. Is known for what is perhaps the most intimate doppelganger experience on record. Towards the end of his life, he's said to have regularly interacted with his doppelganger. This eerie twin not only talked to him, but actually sat down and started dictating a short story to him.
Oh.
Yes, de Maupassant claimed that one of his last stories was literally ghostwritten by his own ghost, no less.
Wow.
If that's not chilling enough, don't worry, it gets even better. The story the spirit allegedly dictated to him was the Horla, I guess, or Orla, an unnerving tale of a man whose sanity is slowly consumed by an evil spirit that uses him as a host. As if echoing the story, de Maupassant's mental health started deteriorating soon after finishing it.
Wow.
In another version of the events, the doppelganger did not dictate the book, as it disappeared when the terrified de Maupassant called his servant. However, the apparition returned only a few months later. It entered the writer's room, looked at him with a sad expression. Then it sat down and buried its face in its hands, as if in despair. Convinced that the doppelganger brought news of disaster, the horrified de Maupassant's...
You gotta murder it, don't you?
I'm just brutalizing the hell out of it. Was downhill from there. He died in an insane asylum a year later. Wow. And the last on this list is somebody known as Emily Segui. She never saw her doppelganger, but everyone else did, though. Segui worked in an exclusive girls' school. She was a very good teacher, but for some reason she kept moving from one job to another. In 16 years, she had changed positions an impressive 19 times. In 1845, the school found out why. Sagi was allegedly the center of some very strange doppelganger activity. Her spectral twin was first seen during a class as 13 students witnessed the doppelganger standing by Sagi's side and mirroring her movements. Next, it stood behind her as she ate, pantomiming her movements, and Sagi herself was completely oblivious to the apparition despite the fact that everyone else could see it clearly.
Wow.
However, she did become strangely groggy and powerless during the times the doppelganger manifested, and the wraith was often seen doing things Sagi later said that she had been thinking about at the moment, suggesting that she may have had some subliminal control over it. Soon the doppelganger ventured beyond Sagi's immediate vicinity. At first, it appeared to a classroom full of students sitting calmly in the teacher's chair while Sagi herself was outside working in the garden. The few people who dared to approach the doppelganger found they could pass through it, yet it had a texture that reminded them of thick fabric. Time went by and the apparition became a permanent fixture of the school's life. Freaking people out on a regular basis, the girls' concerned parents started removing their children from the school. Although Sagi was a model employee and all non-paranormal accounts, the headmistress had no option but to fire her and her ghostly double. Wow, that would suck. That would really suck, you know?
Take you and your doppelganger and get the heck out.
Yeah, no kidding. And you know, who can blame the parents? You don't know what the
Yeah.
hell it is.
Right.
But you don't want your kids to suddenly get doppelgangers.
You know, it's
It's like an infection.
yeah, you know, it's it's like it's because of the teacher at school. She's now seeing herself in the mirror.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting one because it mentioned that anytime the doppelganger appeared, the person, Sagi,
Yeah.
became lethargic and
Yes.
you know, so it's like maybe a projection of her soul or her
Some
soul
kind of
stepping
tulpa.
away. Tulpa?
Yeah.
Sure, but who created that particular tulpa?
I'm sure
in
she
that
did.
case? Well, why would she do that though? I mean,
Well, I don't think it was conscious.
yeah, so it's that subliminal,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the idea that she may have been able to subliminally, you know, subconsciously control it. You know,
Yeah.
that's interesting. But I mean, why? When you're sitting right there, I don't know.
I don't know either. But, you know, if I'm creating a doppelganger, it's going to some sandy beach next to an ocean with fruity drinks in his hand.
I don't care about the fruity drinks. I'll just take M&Ms and a 7-Up and sit on a beach. I'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need to be lavish either, but somewhere that doesn't have winters. I should send my doppelganger out every winter.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'll sit,
Live vicariously, please.
I'll sit here lethargically while I'm sunning on the beaches somewhere nice.
Maybe that's why I'm so lethargic during those times of the year. I'm like,
Yeah, exactly. It could be. You never know, Don.
yeah,
You might be creating a tulpa somewhere.
that might be true. I wish I could switch places with it. Sometimes, you know, hey, let's switch now. It's been like 2 months.
God, it's almost been an hour already.
It's only been an hour?
It's almost been an hour. I mean, I'm surprised why do you feel it's been longer?
No.
Oh.
No, it's just that I looked at the clock, 25 minutes ago and went, oh, this is going quick. And now it's like, oh, it's only 8 o'clock.
Yeah, it feels like it flew to
Yeah,
me.
do doppelgangers get quarantined? That's a good question,
I
Titan.
don't think they can be.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I don't think they can be if they're spiritual. You know, how do you quarantine a spirit? Right? I mean, just putting it out there, it's
knows?
not possible. Yeah, please give us likes, everybody. We need likes because it feeds the algorithm,
That's right.
and the algorithm rewards us with more exposure.
And even though you gave us a thumbs down, it's still part of the metrics.
Yeah. Do we have one?
Yeah.
Somebody's just a dick. It's just like, I don't like this show. I'm coming over to give you a thumbs down. It's like,
And I'll
God.
sit here and watch for the next hour.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit here and look at how much I hate you. Yeah. Wow.
While we sit and,
We'll just do our job. We're just gonna do our thing.
I'm so glad you don't like us enough to come watch us.
I know every day to come by and give us a thumbs down. Well, at least they're consistent, right?
Well, there is some importance in that, yes.
So, what would you do if you met your doppelganger, Doc?
I'd probably poop myself.
Would you? I mean,
know,
would it freak you out?
One of me is enough. We don't need two of me in this world. It would be interesting, I mean, I would be worried about what kind of what kind of personality it has.
Mhm.
You know, is it representing me as a brand, or is it representing itself as an ass? You know,
Yeah.
I mean, because that's another thing is a lot of there's been quite a few famous people who, oh yeah, I was this doppelganger and I was mistaken and blah blah blah, and I've read quite a few stories like that. And well, and then you got people that like have like, physical surgeries to look like people,
Mhm.
and it's just crazy. So um, um, I certainly, I don't know how I would strike up a conversation with myself. I mean, I talk to myself all the time, but not like that.
Yeah.
Um, I think it'd be crazy. It'd be a crazy experience. And I would certainly hope that other people would see it, so I
Yeah.
know I'm not crazy.
Right.
So,
Well, there's that. I had my cousin's dad, and actually his dad wasn't actually blood related to me, but his mom was.
mhm.
But my cousin's dad was a dead ringer for Johnny Carson.
Really?
Like literally, they were doppelgangers. Although they never knew each other. And I don't think they ever met each other. But my cousin's dad was a doctor, and he was they did pretty well. But they went on vacation in the '80s to Palm Springs, and they sitting by the pool with his wife. My
Oh,
cousin.
that must have created a sensation.
And sure enough, Bob Hope came up and sat down and started talking to him like, "Hey, where you been? How you been doing?"
Oh,
Bob Hope and he had a conversation. So I mean, even Bob Hope thought it was Johnny Carson.
right.
Yeah, and it's just a neat story. And when you see pictures of them, I mean, they literally did look exactly alike. It was really crazy. But yeah, I mean, he looked so much like him that even Bob Hope screwed it
Wow.
up.
That's kind of a cool thing, though.
Yeah.
I just out of the blue, Bob Hope sat down and just started talking to me like we were best friends.
Yeah, exactly. My mom got confused for who's the mom from the Partridge Family? Shirley
Sure. Yeah.
Shirley something. But my mom went to
Surely you must be joking.
a restaurant in
Right.
New York in the '90s. And the maitre d' came up. Oh, you must be taking a break from your show. Welcome, and they seated him at a really nice
Oh,
table.
wow. Can we
So-
put that on the tab?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
See ya.
Oh, send the bill to my agent.
Kathy, there's no breaks on Wednesdays.
Well, we can take one though. I think.
Yeah,
I think we'll take a
okay,
quick
all
break.
right.
But we can do it. We can do one break on Wednesdays because we got to freshen up. But
Yeah.
we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. So sit back, grab a drink, use the loo, and we'll meet you right back here in just a couple minutes. Don't go away.
Everybody likes to play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace the lines upon my body, ripping scars across my heart. Raging anger pours inside me as their lies keep falling apart. When I'm not finish with my sightings. I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness, just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise, you're just another fucking ass. Taking off the slice of my sanity, just make sure that you're well fed.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, here on the Paranormal Portal. I am your host, Brent Thomas, still active, still at it. Thank you for those couple minutes. We've got a surprise for you, ladies and gentlemen. Just a last-minute idea that Don and I spitballed while we were on this nice break. Just talking, stretching our legs. And so if you're here, you don't want to leave. That's all I'm going to say.
Yep, don't leave.
Don't leave, because at the end of the show, we're going to be making an announcement, but you have to be present for this announcement. Otherwise, you are not capable of eligible for the giveaway.
What?
Yes, that's true. We're going to take we're going to take all the names from the chat that are talking and participating, and we're going to enter you on the list. We're going to randomize the list, and we're going to have a random number generator pick a number from 1 till however many people are chatting. And that person will win a T-shirt, Paranormal Portal T-shirt. So,
sweet.
Stick around. We're gonna do a giveaway today. It's our first day back together, and
He's feeling really good.
huh? I am. I'm really glad that we're here and together, and back at it. So
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're chatting and you're on the list of participants in the chat, your name will be entered. When's the next podcast going to be out? Contraband's ask. We just finalized the contract for that contraband, and so we're all good to go. I'm just waiting to get into the system. With the Revolver just merged to a different setup, and so I've got to get the new information. But we will be spitting out new episodes in the possibly before the week is done, but if not, then beginning of next week. So we're going to start releasing new podcast episodes soon. So hang on. We're coming. We just got all the negotiations tied up for the podcast contract. So we're ready to move forward. So stay tuned and keep watching the old ones. Keep watching the old ones. No, I mean, it's unfortunately.
Lieber777, haven't seen you in a while.
T-shirt giveaway, that's right,
Yeah,
Lieber.
It brings people out, doesn't it?
Yeah, it gets people talking, doesn't it? So you definitely don't want to leave, because if you're not here when we make the announcements, we'll pick a different name. No offense. I mean, I understand sometimes people got to go. Moog, you already won a T-shirt from us, so you don't get to win too. Unfortunately, you were already a previous winner. But we love you all the same. It's just I can't keep giving you shirts. I got to spread the love around. So I hope you understand if your name was to come up. But anyway. Let's see.
That's crazy. You say free something and everybody's like, "Oh, I'm here. I'm here. I've been here all along."
Did the list grow once I started that?
It is growing quick. It is definitely
good.
that.
Yeah,
already.
I want to give you guys a chance, because it's fun to be here together and have Don back in the studio and to be back to more normal. And
Normal is nice.
I've missed this. I guess I should put you on the screen.
Me? Why?
Well, because you're just a big part of the show, and because you're not just a hallucination.
Let's see.
You are here for real. But while Don's doing this, I'm going to get into some more doppelganger stories here. This one is this one's going to be kind of interesting.
Okay.
Let me see. Yeah, there's some pictures. I'm going to put it up though, so you guys can see. These are pretty interesting, but these are people that actually met their own doppelgangers.
Ew.
This isn't necessarily paranormal. It's just physical similarities, but I figure those are kind of fun too. So let's see what we got here. And this list is coming from ODDEE.com, and it says doppelgangers, 8 stories of people who met their unrelated twins. And there's more of these coming up in a bit here. But this is the first article that I thought was pretty cool. I think it'd be neat to look up and see someone that looks exactly like you. I mean, it would be kind of surreal, though. Again, I've never experienced that personally. So it's interesting. But I think it's got to be a pretty cool phenomena. So this one is the man. Let me put it up on the screen with you and I, Don, so that it's here. The man who met his doppelganger after being randomly seated next to him on a Ryanair flight. I've never even heard of Ryanair. It's obviously an airline of some kind. It says a bearded traveler met his doppelganger on Ryanair flight after a stranger sat in his seat. Neil Douglas was shocked to discover his twin brother from a different mother, Robert Sterling, on the flight from Stansted to Shannon Airport's County Clare. Instead of asking the stranger to move, the 32-year-old wedding photographer from Glasgow took a selfie and shared the image on Twitter. The photograph, which has already been shared nearly 2,000 times, shows the strangers with strikingly similar bushy ginger heads, smiles, and hairstyles. The pair, who were both wearing black shirts, later realized they were booked into the same Irish hotel and enjoyed a pint together in a nearby pub. I know that story's in one of these other articles I pulled up, so we'll see more of them in just a minute. But this is a girl who accidentally met her doppelganger after going to college in Germany. Look at that. Those two are just so similar. Holy gosh.
Oh, wow, yeah.
That's incredible. Student Ciara Murphy moved to Bremen in Germany to study, and the last thing she expected was to accidentally bump into her doppelganger. But shortly after moving to Germany from Ireland, Ciara thought something odd was going on when people were asking her if she came to the country with her sister. Unknown to Ciara, the same thing was happening to Cordelia Roberts from the UK, who had also moved to the area to study, and eventually Ciara bumped into Cordelia and realized that people must have thought they were twins, as they look so similar. They are now best friends and go around everywhere together and are known as the twins around college. They do look really, really pretty identical.
Very, very, very similar.
Wow. The woman who turned to the internet to find 2 identical twin strangers. Yeah, that's pretty wild. They do twinstrangers.com, I guess, is a website.
Huh.
But you can see that there are a lot of similarities. That's creepy. I don't know. There's something about being unique, though. You know, wouldn't you just? There's somebody out there that looks just like you. Does that kind of diminish your individuality?
You know, that's a good question. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good question. How does that affect the way you see yourself?
Right.
You know.
Yeah. I guess you could have a stunt double built in.
Half the man I used to be.
Irish TV presenter Niam Geeney launched a 28-day challenge called Twin Strangers to find her closest living lookalike. She was amazed when she discovered a woman who was the spitting image of her, living just 1 hour away.
Wow.
Niam, 26, found Karen Brannigan in April 2015 when her social media campaign went viral. The pair met and had a photo shoot together. Needless to say, they are shockingly similar. If you think Niam and Karen look alike, just wait. During the project, Niam met a second woman who looks more like her than the first woman living in Italy. And Niam said finding 2 women who shared almost identical looks was absolutely crazy. A couple of months later, the blue-eyed brunettes traveled to Genoa to meet the second twin stranger, Luisa. After massive public enthusiasm for the project, Gianna has since launched twinstrangers.com, The site allows people to upload photos and describe their physical features and then matches them to others. And Guinea says matches have been made between people in Russia and Italy, Holland and the U.S. and Mexico and Brazil, among other places. The woman who accidentally found her twin stranger on Instagram. Yeah, that's very similar too. A little different lips though. A little bit, but it's different lighting though too.
Yeah, different lighting. The nose is different. The one on the right has a little wider nose, a little more flared.
Yeah.
Lips are a little different too.
Yeah, very similar though.
Yeah, very, very similar. I would certainly take them as very close-looking sisters, certainly.
Yeah, they could look like sisters for sure. But it says the resemblance between the two women is uncanny, but Amanda Fisher and Meredith Pond are not twins. They're complete strangers. A friend first alerted Fisher, 23, of a picture of a girl on Instagram who looked just like her. Fisher then set out to find her doppelganger, and after failing to make contact, she posted an image of them both on Imager and called on users to help her track down her twin. In the post, which has been viewed more than 11 million times, Fisher said, "I'm hoping she will see this so we can just be as weirded out as me." However, some commenters were not as convinced that the photos showed two different people. One user said, "Not convinced, that isn't you." Of course, it's the internet.
It's like, roast me, please.
Yeah, exactly. Another said, "Same haircut. I don't believe it. Sorry." The internet is full of such dorks. But one person managed to identify the doppelganger as 22-year-old Meredith Pond from Indiana and directed Fisher to her Facebook page. And after contacting Pond, Fisher posted an update on Imager. "I made contact, and she finally contacted me. We've been swapping some pictures. I hope I didn't scare too much with attention. I found an old photograph of my mom to compare us to as well. Thanks for all the help, Imager." Or Imgur. I don't know. Everybody says Imager, right?
Yes.
Canadian toddler who mistook himself for Prince George.
Wow.
He does look like Prince George. That's cute. That's adorable, right? He's just hamming it up.
Yeah, he's got that all cheesy. He's all cheesed out.
Here I am.
Oh,
I got another little baby.
I'm a royal.
It seems that if Prince George's doppelganger has been discovered, but albeit accidentally, and he and another toddler seriously look alike. John III's godfather innocently posted a pic of the 2-year-old on Reddit, and he's pointing to the cover of Hello magazine, featuring the royal prince and his baby sister, Princess Charlotte. The man captioned the adorable pic, "My godson thinks he's Prince George." The image went viral and propelled the tiny tot to instant fame, with everyone claiming the two boys could easily pass as twins. The similarities don't end there. Both boys are roughly around the same age, have a regal name, and John III's parents also live in London. Well, London, Canada.
Oh.
Well, that is a little spooky.
Well, I don't know. Prince Harry just moved to Canada?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You don't suppose there's some royal seed been spread around, do you? Sorry. I'm just saying. Sorry, it cracked me up. It cracked myself up. That's what I do here, ladies and gentlemen. All right, these two look very, very, very close. They look like they would be at least brothers. But anyway, those are two kids looking alike too. I don't know. That's just kind of this. I'm going to kind of skip some of these. The identical strangers who met within 5 minutes of joining a doppelganger website. Wow. Yeah. That's really, really close. You don't suppose they just happen to be wearing that same shirt, do you? No, probably not. They may be total strangers who, after a decade apart in age, but two women who live thousands of miles away have been brought together after learning they are real-life doppelgangers. Jennifer, 33, from Spring, Texas, was stunned by her uncanny resemblance to Ambra, 23, from Fayetteville, North Carolina, and she was matched with her within 5 minutes of joining the website Twin Strangers, which helps people find their identical lookalikes anywhere in the world. "I just put in my parameters, and there she was. Boom," Jennifer explains in a video chronicling her first meeting with Ambra. After making headlines for finding two of her lookalikes as part of the Twin Strangers project, Niam Guinea, 26, now using the website to help connect others with their nearly identical counterparts. The man who met his doppelganger after moving to a new neighborhood. Wow. They'd be living in the same area. They're total strangers, but could pass for identical twins. Retired priest Neil Richardson, 69, moved to Braintree, Essex, 18 months ago, only to find he was constantly greeted with smiles, waves, and the words, "Hello, John." He didn't realize he was the spitting image of John Jemison, 74, when the doppelgangers finally bumped into each other. They found they'd been to the same college, had both been teachers, and had plenty more in common. Interesting, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So this is more the earthly, normal, like, hey, somebody else looks like you out there.
Right.
Not nearly as paranormal, but I think these things are interesting nonetheless. And I hope you don't mind me embellishing this a little bit, because I think this stuff, here's the one that I was talking to you guys about first, the guy that just happened to meet their doppelganger on the plane, and wait till you see these two guys. I mean,
you got that picture? Excellent.
Yeah.
That's a great picture.
It's just like, derp, really? Those guys are not the same guy. There they are. This is the one of the two guys that met on the plane, and they're like totally identical. Obviously, one's a bit taller. There's some differences, but God, they're very, very similar. That's pretty crazy. This one, two people looking like. So, do you guys believe everybody has a doppelganger out there? Here's another couple.
That almost
guys.
looked like Cade.
Oh my God! I now believe.
Cade now is a triplet doppelgangers.
Yeah. Cade's got a few pounds on this, but he's in the same network there, isn't he? Yeah. Are they from Australia? I don't know. Can't say for sure. Retired priest. These are the two, the retired priest and the other guy, and they do look very much alike. That's crazy. There's a doppelganger I ran into at a music festival, plus a face swap of the photo. Huh. That is pretty cool. These two obviously are doppelgangers as well. This is really, really close, though. I mean, geez, dude.
Yeah.
They even got the same style noses and very, very similar. Two guys. That might just be more the hairstyle than anything on this one. But
Yeah, I think so, because one's got that bigger jaw.
Got
That bigger jaw that chisels
the
your
chin.
arms.
There's a lot more distance between the lower lip and the chin than this guy for sure. But interesting. Another one. So I'm just scrolling through these. That's cool. So do you guys have a doppelganger out there? I think they do. I think we do.
Oh, you got calls on the board.
I got a bunch of calls.
Let's get to some calls.
9 minutes ago. Well, that's not too bad, is it? Let's
Well,
get to the call.
We're pretty
Area
bad
code
about it.
845. You're on the air.
9 minutes is nothing in the portal, Brent. That's like 2 seconds. This is Carlton.
Hey, Carlton. How you doing, brother? What's
I'm
shaking?
doing all right.
Yeah.
Oh, not too much. This show brought back a memory for me. There was a girl I was dating years back, and her mom shows up at my workplace one day and like starts cursing me out. And I'm like, why are you mad at me? What are you screaming at me about? She's like, I could swear I just saw you driving through town with another girl in your truck. It looked just like you. It was the same truck that you drive. Blah, 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 blah. She like went off on me. And I was like, look, I've been here. Ask my coworkers. And like she went and asked them. They're like, yeah, he's been here all day working. But she could have sworn it was me.
Oh, nice. So you somebody almost screwed up your relationship.
Wow. See, that's what
yeah,
I'm saying.
Yeah, I was really glad I was at work that day.
Yeah, it's nice to have witnesses, because if you just happened to be home lounging around, nobody would have known, right? Yikes.
That was exactly what I thought. I was like, man, it's a good thing I was at work, or I would have lost that one.
So was that just a one-time deal, or was this person in your community? Did you ever figure out who it was?
Well, I never figured out who it was, but
Okay.
it's funny because later on I've had people later on, like within that same time frame, I had people come up to me and say, hey, I just saw you in town the other day. What were you doing? You know, and it's like, or when I was out of town, or I was, working somewhere else, like, no, I definitely wasn't in town. They're like, no, I swear it was you. And I'm like, no, I swear it wasn't me. I definitely was not in town that day.
Well, that's kind of funny, because I just been exchanging emails with somebody who works with a person who's had a lot of paranormal experiences, and he and I have been emailing back and forth, and he's made the connection now, and she's going to come on and be a guest on the podcast. But he said, hey, by the way, it's really creepy. She says she swears she's seen you before. And I was like, oh, really? She goes, yeah, it was about, or he told me, yeah, she said it was like 4 years ago or more in a airport. And she was just really, she said that you had a neat energy and you were sitting there talking with a blonde woman about mediums and energy. And I was like, well, it sounds like me, but I
Wow.
have not been in an airport with a blonde lady that I can recall for a long, long time. A lot longer than it'd be like over a decade ago for sure. An ex-girlfriend of mine was a blonde, but and we did go to the airports and travel around a little bit. But yeah,
That'd be a long memory right there.
that would be for sure. But the person swears that it's definitely me. And she told him that I have a very unique energy, and she just will always remember that face. But it wasn't me. I don't think. But cool. I mean, nonetheless, cool.
Well, man, it left me wondering, like, maybe there is like a clone of me around somewhere. 'Cause,
Right. Yeah.
like it's one thing to have like that happen once, but to have multiple people come up and say, yeah, there's a person who looks just like you. I swear to God, I've seen you before. It's like, no, I definitely haven't met you before. Because I'm like you, I remember faces really well.
Yeah.
Names, forget about it. If it's your name, I probably won't remember your name.
Yeah.
But your face, I definitely will remember.
Yeah,
That was
very
strange.
wild. Very wild. But I'm glad it worked out for you okay, though. That would have been a whole
Yeah,
mess.
well, that relationship went downhill later anyway. But I'm glad it didn't go downhill because of that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, not based on a lie anyway. Yeah, for sure. Nah, cool story, brother. Thanks for sharing that.
Wow, yeah.
You did great on Lucky's show, by the way, too.
Oh, that was a great show.
Quantum Connections, you did a
Yep.
great job, by the way. Fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much, Brent, and thanks for the hookup on that. I really appreciate it. Yeah, that was awesome, and she wants to have me back on again, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Oh, cool.
So that's exciting.
Excellent, brother. Well, keep us posted as to how that develops, okay?
We'll do. All right,
All
thank
right.
you guys.
We'll
All
see
right,
you.
Party
see you,
out.
bud.
All right, good night. Excellent. Okay, and we got another call here, and this is from area code 254. You're on the air. Hello, are you there?
Hey, Brent, it's Kathy.
Hi, Kathy. How are you? Welcome to the show. Good to hear from you.
I'm good. I I wanted to thank you
Oh,
and Dawn for all the time. I know it's not easy doing all this and putting it together, but I really do appreciate it, especially at this time when we don't get to interface with other people.
oh.
And I just wanted to thank you both for that.
Oh, it's our pleasure. And, I mean, honestly, if it wasn't for you guys, there wouldn't be a lot of a draw for us to do this. But it's the fact that all of you guys that come in every night and participate and belong to this community just makes it so worthwhile.
Yes.
It's so rewarding. So, I mean, it's, I appreciate that you're talking about the sacrifice to do the shows. And there is a sacrifice, but I'll tell you what, it's been therapeutic for
I'm sure
me.
there is, Brent.
But it's been therapeutic for me as well to come in and be able to connect with all of you guys. It really makes me feel incredibly special, and I feel like this is a family, But thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, we get weird and crazy over here in the chat, but, hey, if you're weird and crazy, you're exactly where you need to be.
That is the truth.
We do like crazy. There's no doubt about that. So we tend to do pretty well. But
Well, I did have, also had an incident that it wasn't mine, but it was my brother's.
uh-huh.
And he's just an old cowboy, and he's a team roper. And they go all over the place and rope, and then they usually stop at a restaurant or cafe, and they stopped at this real nice steakhouse,
Mm-hmm.
and went in and got seated, and he's about 40 or 50 years old about that time, and he noticed that there was some waitresses, young little girls over in the corner, and they were all gathering around looking at each other, and they'd look at him and then look at each other, and they started giggling and laughing, and so they got really, really good service, I mean, there was like everybody trying to wait on them.
Wow.
And so he and his buddy were sitting there just grinning at each other. There's all these young girls waiting on them and everything. And so at the very end of the meal, one of the waitresses brought them their ticket. And so she said she handed him another one that was empty, and it was blank, and she said, Mr. Duval, I was wondering if you would give me your autograph.
Oh.
And they had all mistaken him for Robert Duval.
Wow.
He gets that all the time.
Oh, wow.
But in real life, Robert Duvall he's my brother is 6'2", and I don't think Mr. Duvall is that tall. So
Wow.
he gets to enjoy that every once in a while.
Well, that reminds me of another story that I had, and it has to do with I'm pretty sure it has to do with that Touched by Angel guy that I looked like. I was at a
I'm gonna watch that episode.
I was at a KFC once, and that show's from like the '90s, but I was in a KFC one time around that period of time, and I had this older woman was just staring at me and smiling and talking with her. I assume her daughter or a younger female was with her, and they were just chatting away, and every once in a while glimpsing over and smiling, and it was sweet. It was fine, and I really wasn't sure what was going on, and until they got up and she walked over sheepishly to the table and said, I'm sorry, I know that you're having dinner, but I just wanted to tell you how much I love your show." And rather than try to correct it, I decided to just roll with it. I just said, "Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoy it. Thank you for watching." So I just went with it because
what can he do? That's what he did. He took the little blank receipt and he said, "Well, I'd be glad to do that for you, sugar." And he just wrote Robert Duvall.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, at that point I didn't want to embarrass her or humiliate her, so I just went with it and gave her that moment. Maybe it meant something to her, but it was just a weird memory. But yeah, when you said that, it brought it right back. I was like, "Oh yeah." So that's strange.
Well, he put two T's. He put two T's at the end of Robert.
Oh.
So it wouldn't be a.
Right.
Oh, okay.
What do you call it?
Yeah, plagiarizing or ripping them off. Yeah, yep. Impersonating.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, well, I just wanted to let y'all guys know that I realize that it's a lot of work, and I appreciate what you've done for me.
Aw.
And I've gotten Barb and I have been talking, and I encourage anybody that might need that to do it. And it's a real fun thing. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome, and I'm just really thrilled that you've been a big part of what we're doing, and that you shared your stories with us, and that we were able to connect you with somebody that could help you put that all back together. So it's really my pleasure, and we love you both.
Well, we're still working on it. We're still working on it. Maybe one of these days.
Well, at least you're on the process, right? That's huge. Healing is always a process. Yeah, absolutely. But thank you so much for your kind words, and thank you for being here for us.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right.
Wow.
Good night, Kathy.
Wow, that is so cool.
Good night. Bye-bye.
That is so cool to have, people that just, they love me.
They love us, Don.
I don't know why.
Oh, come on. What's not to love about that beard, right?
Oh, apparently there's some people who don't like it.
Well, it's jealousy, beard jealousy.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
Wow.
it's definitely cool enough. It's distinctive, I think.
Definitely. If let me know if you ever run into a doppelganger of mine without, the facial hair. Let me know.
I don't know if anybody knows what you look like without it.
Well, that's probably true.
Yeah, I mean, you've had the beard in some form or another the whole time we've been doing the show.
I've had at least a well-trimmed goatee most of my life.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I gotcha. So when do you think we should do the giveaway?
I don't know. I'm looking and I'm like, I only have like 25 names.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and there's 50 people supposedly watching. So
no, there's 61 according to my
well,
charger.
yeah, it went up again.
If
Yep.
you want to be entered into the drawing for
Trolls excluded.
yeah, if you gave a thumbs down, you're automatically
Oh,
excluded.
Cha-Cha's not here.
Did she leave?
No, I don't think she's been here.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess-
Ethan's not here either.
Well, what's going on between those guys? But yeah, if you want to be entered in the giveaway, just give us a shout out in the chat so that we know you're here, and we'll enter you. We're gonna give away a Paranormal Portal T-shirt tonight. One lucky winner will leave today's show, expecting at some point in the future to receive a T-shirt. Now, if you win, I want you to email us your contact information. Of course, that'll be kept private, but we'll send it out to you as soon as we get it printed. So
They are print on demand, so it will take a couple weeks, but we'll get it there.
yeah. So if you want to be entered in the T-shirt giveaway, let us know that you're here. If you haven't already been talking, if you've already been talking, Don's got your name already. But the participants list is generated on people that are actually chatting, like participating in that way. But if you're just kicking back, relaxing, and you want to be entered in there, just give us a hello in chat, or just say enter me, and we'll put you on the list because we want to give everybody a shot at it that wants it. Hey, Brent, Don, and Duke. Hi, Linda. How you doing? Good to see you. And so keep watching that, Don, if any new names pop up.
Yep.
Otherwise, let's see. Let's see what I got here. I got more of the same with those. I want to find some more ghostly doppelganger stuff here because I appreciate the fact that there are people out there that look alike, and I find that interesting. It's definitely interesting. But I'd like to find more creepy stuff. Creepy, scary doppelganger.
I've got one. I'm going to send you the link real quick.
Okay. Don's
Because
going to send me the link because he's
I
going to be...
pulled this one up, and it's sitting on my screen, so I might as well send it to you.
You might as well.
All right, so let's see. Brent Thomas. There we go.
Okay,
All
that's
right.
me.
There you go.
I haven't... There it
Check
is.
that one out.
It just popped through. Okay. I'm going to pull up another story from Don. It says... And this is coming from bustle.com. Nice find. It says 8 creepy doppelganger superstitions that will make you hope you never meet your double.
Well,
So
here you go.
here you go. So there is a lot of people, of course, that it's been touched on a little bit tonight, but they believe if you see a doppelganger, it's a harbinger of bad things to come, including possibly your own demise. I don't know what to think about stuff like that. I don't know if it's ever so clear cut. I mean, I like to think the future's in motion and it hasn't been decided yet. I mean, everything has a pattern to it, and choices can be made to change anything. I think I like to believe that anyway. Otherwise, life just seems like it's a struggle for a fruitless struggle that doesn't really have any meaning. So let's get into this. So it says you've almost definitely heard of the term doppelganger. Today, it's often used in a very casual way to mean someone who looks like someone else. Maybe you've heard someone say something like, "Hey, I saw your doppelganger today. They looked just like you." It was almost creepy. Well, this definition is correct. The term has a long other story behind it that gives it a whole new meaning to the word creepy. There are lots of spooky doppelganger myths out there that are going to make you hope you never meet anyone who looks like you. So let's see what's going on. It says doppelganger is a German word that means double walker. According to ancient legend, a doppelganger isn't just someone who resembles you or a twin with their own identity. It's a literal duplicate of you. Many mystics believe that doppelgangers are supernatural creatures, and their appearance in someone's life is almost never a good thing. Even creepier, there are real accounts of people seeing their doppelgangers, and things almost never go well for them. There are countless ancient myths and legends and even more modern accounts. One popular story is when Abraham Lincoln saw his own look-alike in 1860. He supposedly saw his reflection doubled in the mirror and one face beside the other. He saw this 3 times, and his wife Mary Todd was worried that the vision meant he would serve 2 terms and would die before the end of the second. It's a real-life ghost story. This isn't the only ghostly example of a doppelganger myth seemingly come true. Below are a few most horrifying things people believe and or have believed about doppelgangers. 1, seeing your doppelganger is an omen for death. The most widely known myth about doppelgangers is that they're often an omen of death. According to both English and German folklore, seeing your doppelganger often means that death will soon follow. Even more so if you see them more than once. This idea is backed up by the many stories throughout time that have told tales when someone died shortly after seeing their doppelganger multiple times, like Lincoln. Doppelgangers give malicious advice. Ooh. So doppelgangers are generally just seen as a bad omen, even if they don't specifically mean death. Many have always believed that the doppelganger is basically an evil twin. They sometimes supposedly attempt to purposely give you bad advice in a malicious way. They might also try to plant sinister ideas in their victims' minds. According to ancient pages, one of the earliest references to this idea is found in the Zuvanite branch of Zoroastrianism. The site says, in the cosmological model, the twins Ahura Mazda, Mazud, and Angra Mainyu, which is Ahriman, are co-eternal representations of good and evil. Number 3, if someone else sees your doppelganger, it means you might be very sick. You're not off the hook if someone else spots your doppelganger either. Linda Derry, site director of the old Cahaba ghost town in Alabama and curator of folklore originating from that region, told Atlas Obscura, if someone else saw your doppelganger, it could mean that you are very ill. Number 4, your doppelganger is a ghostly double that lived before you.
Oh, yeah, like those pictures.
Which we'll get into as well.
Yes.
Other ancient myths suggest that a doppelganger is essentially a ghostly double of you who lived before you do, which is very creepy to think about. It comes from Norse mythology that the doppelganger is there called a Vardolger, meaning, according to ancient pages, the stories of Vardolger describe incidents that are basically deja vu in reverse, where a spirit with the subject's footsteps, voice, scent, or appearance, and overall demeanor precedes them in a location or activity, resulting in witnesses believing they've seen or heard the actual person before the person is physically arrived. So number 5 is, it is your spiritual double. According to ancient Egyptian myths, the doppelganger is basically the same as a ka. A ka is thought of as a spiritual double born in everyone. When someone dies, their spiritual double lives on as long as they have somewhere to live, usually that person's body, and this is why Egyptians mummified their dead. If they kept the body from decomposing, that meant the spirit double had somewhere to live. But if the body decayed, the spirit double would die, and the deceased would lose their chance at eternal life. Now, number 6 is, it is your evil double from the underworld. So then there was a Native American myth that said that a doppelganger is basically your evil double from the underworld. Native American myths say that there is an upper world and an underworld. The good people live in the upper world, and the evil people live in the underworld. The Hopi legend refers to twins called the child of the sun and the child of the water. The Hopi also believe that whatever is happening in the upper world, the opposite is happening in the underworld, as above, so below. So that's interesting that that's repeated in the Hopi, the as above, so below.
Right.
I don't know that interpretation is accurate. I mean, maybe this is the underworld, is what I was thinking. But, thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you for being you, too. That's so sweet.
That's a pear. Oh, I was looking at it, I was like, is that like a green bean?
A green bean? It's not a bean, it's a pear.
It's a pear.
All right. Even a portrait doppelganger can be a bad omen. So today it's pretty common to find old portraits and paintings of someone who looks exactly like someone living now. Think super old portraits of a person who looks just like a popular celebrity. And we're going to get into those in just a couple minutes. This isn't a great sign either. The Canalos Indians of South America hated portraiture and photography because they believed the pictures captured the soul of the person. And this is still a belief today because many cultures see portraiture as a representation of the soul. They believe that the soul pictures becomes the double. And 8...
I have to excuse myself for a second. I must run to the loo. Sorry.
By all means, go ahead. All right. It's a sign of an alternate universe. An alternate universe. According to Supernatural magazine, there is one more theory. A doppelganger could represent a parallel universe in which everything in this world is replicated in another dimension. Seeing the doppelganger could be a moment where we're able to witness the other dimension. In fact, Columbia University physicist Brian Greene, author of the book The Hidden Reality, Parallel Universes and the Deep Laws of the Cosmos, says that we all have doppelgangers. And I think that that's true. So, like, there are multiple versions of our reality happening right at this very moment into infinity. Like, think of every choice in your life. There was opportunities for you to choose one or the other. Well, each of those becomes a reality. And I think, honestly, I think that as we make these choices, we are the one that merges into the different realities. That our consciousness is shifting based upon the choices we make. And perhaps that's one explanation for things like the Mandela effect. That as we make these choices, there are subtle variations that end up showing up in our journeys. And maybe that's why we have a Mandela effect. We are choosing choices. Maybe they're not choices that we're expected to make. And we end up shooting into a different version of reality that wasn't quite perfect or something. I don't know. But I think that's got to be something to that. Just those subtle variations. I've heard of stories of people going to sleep with a hotel room one way and wake up and it's exactly mirrored. And they're not sure what the hell's going on, but it's like they're in a different room even though they're not. Where one person will think like, there's something not right about this where I am. Something doesn't quite click. And I think that we do merge between those realities, that we are maybe shifting in these dimensional possibilities of ourself. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys or not, but that's something that has definitely occurred to me. Is that, when you look at Mandela effects, you look at things of that nature where there's subtle differences, subtle shifts. Have you ever, I had a weird thing happen one time, and it was just a momentary thing, but it was very curious. One day it was like, I don't know, my mind shifted or something, and suddenly I was around people that I'd always known, but it was like I didn't know any of them. It was just this weird glitch in my mind, and it was like, what the hell's going on? But maybe that could be one of those shifts. I don't know. Just a thought, just some food for thought. You guys can, of course, tell me I'm full of it, or if you think there's some merit to it, I guess, think about it for yourselves. But there's so many phenomena that deal with the possible variations of our multiverse and multiple versions of us that are existing right at this very moment. And so, you ever see Jet Li, that movie, The One? That was really interesting.
Right.
A really interesting take on that whole idea.
Right.
But I think that there's something to that we are in a multiverse, and perhaps it's our consciousness that merges into these other versions of ourselves as we make choices in our lives. Mm-hmm. So there's a version of me right now that is a billionaire and has a amazing life, and there's another version of me that's probably living under an overpass somewhere, trying to make something work. And then there's the version of me right here, and a million different variations either direction.
Right.
And perhaps if I make the right choices, I can merge with the reality of someone that's doing, in a better situation.
Right.
Or if I make the wrong choices, I will merge to the reality of someone that's in the worst situation.
Right.
And so on and so forth. Now, I don't know. It's just a thought, but I think that there's something with that. Yeah, it was creepy. You're right, Heather. It was. But weird. You got to think, what if you could go to these different places? If you took yourself out in the other places, would you have superpowers? Ooh. Nah, you'd probably just end up in some other prison.
That's an interesting thing, because we've talked about before, well, what if I made choice A instead of choice B?
Right.
And if I did, and regardless of which one I chose, did a part of me or a duplicate of me go the other way? There was also the movie Next with, what's his name?
Oh, I never watched that.
It's got
Cage?
Nick Cage, yeah, and he can see, but he can see like 3 or 5 seconds into the future, so he could send out multiples of him and choose which way he wants to go by seeing 3 or 5 seconds into the future.
Sure.
And and so you've got to think, when you're watching this movie, he's got one going this way, one going that way, one going that way. do they all in fact come back? They do show, they all come back to give the information, but did he leave a part of his energy at the end of that line to see where it might go? Or, what might happen? We've talked about, we've talked about choices. We've also talked about, we've also talked about the different veils, the different dimensions, dimensionally. Can we bump into, okay, so the show Fringe.
Or Sliders. Moog just said Sliders. That's true.
Yeah, Sliders, yeah.
Good point.
The show Fringe, that's the whole thing, is that their two realities are colliding and these things are happening beyond the fringe. And on the other side, there are others of them, and they're living a different life. They might be living a similar life in the sense that they're doing the same thing you're doing, but they're just doing it kind of, it implies an evilness to it, or the bad side of what you're doing, so if one's a good cop, the other one's a bad cop, that
Right.
kind of thing.
Sure.
So, just thoughts.
Just thoughts. We've got them. We got a bunch of them. So I think this might be a good time to start our giveaway.
Okay, so let me see here. I have, let me do this, and we'll sort it A through Z. I have 30 names, and that's it.
30. Okay.
30. Well,
that's a good number.
It is what it is. All right, so let me hit the randomize button.
Okay.
Randomize range. Boop.
Okay.
And I'm going to do it one more time.
And then do a random number generator.
Boop. Oh, I forgot the random number generator.
So you randomized it there twice.
Yeah.
Now let's do a random number generator, 1 to
Random.
30.
Random.
So it's like triple randomized, so there's no funny business going on here.
Funny business.
We don't have a
All right.
pre-configured winner here.
So 1 to 30 and roll. And I came up with the name. Bomber.
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 Oh, Bomber is the proud winner of
There
a
you
brand new
go.
Paranormal Portal t-shirt, which is nice. That's nice. Congratulations to Bomber,
Yay.
part of the family. And it was just random. So
Right.
I just think every once in a while I'd like to do that, just to thank you guys for being here and being a part of what we're doing. We really appreciate your guys' presence, of course. And,
Yes, absolutely.
and all the love and support and kindness and friendliness and being part of this amazing family. Ooh, yeah.
Oh, your cat's here, huh?
He got my foot.
Well, better you than me. He's your cat, not mine.
Yeah, I know.
I was wondering why that
It's
door
like-
was open when I came back.
it was like this, and then just this slow crunch into my foot with those razor sharp talons.
Yep.
So my cat just nailed my foot in a very slow, painful way, like a diabolical way. He was just like, and they were going deeper, and I was like, "Arr, arr." So sorry about that.
So, Bomber, Paranormal Portal Radio at gmail.com, or get a hold of Brent through IM, whatever you feel best doing. Let him know your address and where we need to send it, and size too. We need your size.
We need a size.
Because, an extra small doesn't look good on a, fat guy like me.
No. You're welcome, Bomber, of course. And thank you to everybody. We're just going to do that every once in a while randomly as you're here watching the shows. I just got a whim, and it feels like a good idea, and I think it's a great way to say thank you to you guys who are here taking part in our shows. It means a lot to us. Please like and subscribe if you're not already. We definitely want to keep this growing, and we are growing. It's really been cool. A lot of new names coming in, new people we're meeting, and a whole collection of wonderful familiar faces that we see every night. So thank you guys for that. I'm just trying to think. Oh, again, the podcast. Please remember, they will be coming out again soon. I don't have an exact release date. I just need to let you guys know or reiterate. Before we did 3 podcasts a week. Which was a hell of a lot of work.
God, yes.
On top of 7 nights doing live streams and all of this, it's just too much. and we want to release the best shows we can for you guys. So we're going to scale that down to 1 a week with bonuses here and there as we see fit. So keep watching for those, but it's only going to be once a week.
Yeah.
We gotta pace this so we're releasing the best shows we can, not just
Trying
releasing
to cram
shows
stuff out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
And we found that it was towards the end there, it was just getting to be like, oh man, we got to get these shows done. We got to get these shows done. And I felt like we weren't delivering the best show we could to you guys. So thank you to everyone who supported the podcast, but look forward to those in sometime within now in the next 7 days. We'll be releasing the first one of season 2, which is starting now that we have this all moving forward. So
10
please
shows
keep
a
watching
week,
for
exactly,
that. Yeah, it was just a nightmare schedule. It really was. And it was a schedule that we love doing, but it's just as as everything is growing and becoming more complicated, so are the shows, and so are what we're trying to do with the shows. So we want to keep bringing you guys the best entertainment we can. And please spread the word. If you know people that are into the paranormal, you're involved in groups that have to do with the paranormal, please spread the word about the show. Plug the show in. We are here where we are now because of you guys.
Yep.
We have not spent a dime advertising the show. We've only done it based upon a grassroots word of mouth reputation, and it's been brilliant, and it's growing more and more all the time. But we really appreciate all your efforts on our behalf, and we thank you guys sincerely from the bottom of our hearts.
wherever that may be.
Mine's in my chest. Where's yours, Don?
I don't know. I think sometimes I leave it at home under the pillow.
Yeah.
It's safe there.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we're gonna be moving forward. So keep watching for the podcast. Keep spreading the word about the show. And Don, you got anything?
Nothing. It's just nice to be back in the studio.
Yeah, it's nice to have you back.
You know, it's nice for a couple of reasons. One, it's nice to be sitting next to my brother from another mother over there. And also that, you know, it's doing the shows via Skype like we've been doing, you know, it really creates a lot of noise. And if I try to talk at the same time, you know, it just all gets garbled. Sounds like crap. So anyhow, but also, who do we have on Saturday?
Mr. Dean Harrison will be joining us here on the portal, ladies and gentlemen. Renowned Yowie researcher from Australia is going to be joining us. It should be a great show. I'm looking forward to. Part 1 was amazing. And again, if you haven't seen that, look back at the archives. Just a 4 weeks ago, somewhere in there. He was on, and it was just an incredible discussion.
Yeah.
Part 2 is coming up, and we're going to hear some more of the amazing stories and experiences he's had in his years doing this. He's been at it for
How many years? Yeah.
over 25 years.
Wow,
So
25 years. Wow, I didn't know
over
that.
25 years.
Okay,
yeah.
over.
More than. Yep. So we're going to be getting into a lot more of that. And we got some other shows coming up, too, that we'll be announcing real soon. But stay tuned, everybody, because the portal's continuing to grow. Now, we've been asked to do more of the outside kind of shows, Don. People really loved when we were over at Cindy's. And so I'm thinking that on some Friday, Saturday night thing, if we're both available, we'll just go out and broadcast from somewhere
Oh,
while looking into stuff.
right.
I was thinking one of which would be going up on Schweitzer with the night vision and looking for UFOs.
UFOs.
Yeah.
Those weird and wacky UFOs.
There's a lot of them up here. There's some reason this area is just full of them. This area
Well,
is a
full
hot
of a lot
spot
of
for some reason. Well, that's true too. But yeah, we're going to be doing that. That's weird. Look at this.
What's that?
My phone went into Siri mode all by itself.
Oh, jeez.
That's weird.
That's what you get for having an
Hold on,
Apple
hold on.
phone.
Let me see.
Uh-oh.
Siri. Hey, Siri. Yeah, see, I must have said something. No,
That's what I thought.
I thought you did. That's why I went into Siri mode.
oh my God, you can write stuff like that. I didn't think I had her on Wake Up. Well, that's creepy.
She's
been listening for a while.
Shut up.
Siri, shut up.
Shut up.
Shut up. Mind your own business. All right. So I guess that's going to wrap it up for us tonight, Don. Anything in closing again?
No, just that. Thank you all.
Thank you all. We love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice, take care of each other, help each other out, find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. Make sure you like and subscribe this video. We need your love. We need your love. We need your love. So, all right, guys, that's it for us. Have a great night, and I'll be back tomorrow night with the Night Terrors. Look for me then.
Good night.
Good night.